Good morning, everyone. I am Alif. On behalf of all of us at Devoteam, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We are super excited to be discussing Teams, especially today, especially in these extraordinary times we're facing. We've been using it heavily for the past 3 weeks, both internally and externally, and it's been awesome. Teams has been a lifesaver. The great news is Microsoft has made it free for the next 6 months, so please feel free to get in touch with us if you're interested. Now, time for me to give the floor to Hubert, our instructor. So everyone, thank you and have fun.
Yes, okay, and thank you, Alif, for this interesting introduction. I'm Hubert van der Wijve. As you've seen on my grey beard there, I'm already working for some time in training. Some instructions for this special way of giving training and looking at a presentation is one. You are nearly 150 participants, and thank you for your participation. Due to this, this is not a normal team meeting, but it is a team event, and meaning that your microphone is put on mute for standard. If you want to intervene, well, my colleague Philippe is there to answer your questions in the Q&A. On the right-hand side, you have a right column where you can put your questions, and we'll look at the questions and answer them after a time. So don't worry, and that is also something specific of online training and online conferences. You could be interrupted somewhere or have your internet connection stopped for a while. We are so many nowadays on the internet that the tube follows a bit difficultly, so don't worry, we are saving this event and we are registering it so that you can look at it later on. You will get also a mail with the link in order to review this video after a time. Okay, so let's have a look at what we'll speak about during this 1 hour and a half. Yes, if you remember well, I've put there my timing. It's from 10 this morning till 11:30. And so on the agenda, we will first have a main topic being the topic about how we communicate in Teams, how you use messages and chats, how you work with calls and videos, and how we organize meetings. That is topic number one. Second topic will be how we share files, because you can also collaborate on team. You can work together on files, you can upload files, you can switch to SharePoint and so on. Okay, so that for an way of introduction. Let's start with the topic and look at the Teams environment. So in a Teams environment, well, it is quite important first to think about when will you use Teams. Okay, so Teams is a question of working with, yes, teams, like you do that for project, like you do that with your colleagues, like you work in specific teams inside your company. And a team in Teams has owners. The owner is most of the time the person who generated the team, who made the team, and he is in charge of organizing and looking after the team. I mean, looking after the team in Teams. The same holds for members. Members have a bit lower rights. They can participate, and most of the time members are participants of your own company. So if you are in the same company, well, you will have members. And on a third part, and that depends upon the configuration and the settings that your IT department has made, you can have guests. What are guests? Well, guests are participants to your team for meetings, for collaboration, and so on, that are outside the company. After the organization in Teams, well, you have channels, and in those channels, you always have a general channel, subdivided in different tabs. We'll look at some practical examples at the end, once I will have shown you everything together here with the slides. So a general tab with the possibility to share files, to communicate with the whole team, to organize meetings, to have a common calendar, to have an overview of all your files, and also a channel where you will have the possibility to chat with your colleagues, to make a phone call, to organize meetings, or even to do a video call. So that is for the Teams environment globally. We'll discover that later on. Once that you have an idea about the environment, well, we will look at the first part of everything linked to the communication inside Teams, and that is messages and chats. So in messages and chats, we will look first where you will find those chats, how you will send messages, where you will have an overview of your activity, because you will say, yes, it's nice to have all those chats, but how can I see what I've said, what I've discussed with someone else? Well, just like in Outlook, where we have an overview of the exchanges of the mails, well, we have the same here in Teams. Here we have an overview of how your Teams window looks like. How do we get there? Well, the first thing is having Office 365. And I suppose that you all have it, or that you are using the free version, like Alif told us. Microsoft offers us that for a period of time free. Well, normally Teams is part of your Office 365 offer, and you find it either as an app, and so you can download the Teams app, or you can also use it online, meaning that you can have that on your laptop. You can have it also on your mobile tools. I remember having participated once at a Teams meeting, being somewhere underway, and I had only my smartphone, could follow wonderfully the complete meeting, intervene, share files and everything, even on a mobile phone. So back to our messages. Well, messages and chats. So you find the chats on the top left. Here where you have a small icon, chats. You can find post on the top here. And this is a little bit an illustration of what I told you. As you can see on the left-hand side, I have more Teams, EVS, and general under. Okay. Yeah. Do you hear me again?
Yes, we hear you again.
Seems that okay, fantastic. So, and do you all see my? Yes. Okay, let's continue then. Here seems as if it was about network quality. That is also happening as I introduce you. So second topic is with the posts. So that was on the top in the middle. Trying to get you back in the meeting. Seems to be an interruption. Yep, looks. Do you still hear me? Yeah.
Yes, we hear you now.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so, well, I will just continue, even if I get a message of interruption, and we'll see here, yep, the presentation. Okay, so that was for chats, posts, and conversations. And let's look now at how we do that. Okay, so a minute ago we spoke about conversations, And a conversation is public, meaning public for the whole team with which you're working. So it's not for the whole company, it's neither worldwide, it's only for the members and the guests of your team. What do we see in a conversation? In a conversation, well, how did I get it open like this? If you look well in the previous slide, you see that is a small area on which you can start your conversation. Well, I would advise you to click on the A here underneath in order to start a conversation, and then you can do this public conversation at a subject with which you will identify the conversation, and people can then read the elements, react on this, and as soon as you've put a subject, make some comments, well, you can add a smiley, you can add an attachment for the in this message. So this is when we speak about conversation, it is public, you can have attachments and all type of design. It is, I would say, a little bit like a Word document, but in short, or a OneNote note from the OneNote application. The second one is the private chat. Where do we find chats? Well, it is on the top left. Here we have a chat, and in this chat, well, I can start making discussion. Starts here on the right, and you will see how you raise questions, how you intervene with your colleagues, how they answer you. And if you have, for example, Teams installed on your mobile phone, well, you will get alerts. Also, if you have installed it on your laptop, you get an alert every time that there is a new chat. That again is something you have to put in the settings in order to be alerted every time that you need so. Let's now look to how. Here in how do I create now a new chat? Well, I had there on the top left, like I've showed you in the previous one, here I've clicked on that chat button, and I had first an overview of all the ones I've already used as a chat, but here I'm creating a new one, so a new chat, and you create that new chat on clicking on this pencil here on the top. What does he want you to do? Well, you need to put the name of a person, and you see I'm here writing to guests. I can also, by typewriting the name of your colleagues, well, having immediately the possibility to write to them and to start a chat. Slight difference for the ones who are not used to chat in a business environment, because we all chat through messengers and WhatsApps and so on. In a business environment, well, we look first at the presence and the availability of the colleagues, and therefore chat, when you send one, you will see that you will have most of the time a quicker reaction. So a chat, you react immediately. A mail, you can sometimes wait half a day before you get an answer. And if you get a paper letter, you're so happy that you'll keep it and you answer after a week. Okay, so the time dimension is here different, and the chat is a bit more urgent. Okay, so no need to put urgent on the chat because people know that the chat is urgent. Okay, but anyway, you will see that there are some tools with which you can put the thing being urgent. Okay, so here I start my chat, here starting the new chat, and here is the overview. So now that was my second question, is saying, well, where do I have an overview of all the chats I already had? Well, here I have an overview of my different chats, and in my activity, you see I have a chat with Marc Michaud, I have a chat with Vincent Ruyssen, and then suddenly you see we have another sign on the left. We have TCDs, we have réagissons, we have réunion d'échauffement. Well, all those are meetings. Okay, so you can find back everything that was discussed during a meeting, the documents that were shared, the agenda of what was discussed during this meeting. So an overview of the activity is quite useful, and we click here on the top on activity in order to find this. Okay, so if you have questions about this first topic, well, please raise all your questions to the Q&A. We're nearly 150. That's the reason why you can't intervene by raising a question. We are really in a spoken culture, but this time, due to the large amount of people and the way this Teams event is set up, well, you have, as a participant, the opportunity to raise all your questions to the Q&A. Let's now go to the second part, and we look to calls and video. In calls and video, well, I had started a chat with Marc Michaud. You see here on the left with his nice picture. We were chatting, and suddenly we said, yeah, you know, it's easier to speak. I heard some statistics saying that we can speak 200 words a minute. You can write 50 words a minute. And so you see what a big difference it is when you can speak compared when you can typewrite. And so when you want to do some call, well, I have here the possibility to do calls through a video. Okay, and you see it's suddenly pushed forward to do that video call in normal times, meaning non-corona times. Well, people would enjoy having a video call because it makes the tool a little bit more human. We're not in front of a screen, we're in front of a person. In corona times, I would advise to do just the opposite. We got so used to sitting all alone at home, well, please use better the next one, and then we use the phone calls. Okay, so we can do some phone calls in Teams. And then the last one, we have here also the possibility to not really do a meeting. It's not the correct term, it's more sharing your window. So if you have trouble using Teams and you want your IT to see your window, or you want to share your window when you were discussing in this call, well, we have there an opportunity to work on this button. And then the last one, here we have also that small double persons with a plus sign. Well, with this, I can add people to the conversation, add people to the chat, add people to the video call. Now, one point you have to remember, when you add people to a chat, you create a new one, and all what you discussed in the previous chat, well, does not integrate in the new chat. Okay, so I started with Marc Michaud. I will integrate my colleague Fabien. Well, as soon as we start chatting, Fabien, Marc, and myself, well, we are in a new chat, and the chat that we had before, Marc and myself, is not integrated in the existing chat. Now, for calls and videos, well, you do not necessarily start from a chat. Okay, you will not start from chat and then go to a call. You could say, well, I would like to start immediately to call and to use Teams in order to phone my colleagues, to phone someone externally, to find someone I have a discussion with. Well, here you have that also in calls. Okay, so here underneath on the bottom calls, and I click here on the contact because I was on the chat part, and I can do here the calls. Okay, so click on the contacts and you have the possibility to do this for a phone call. Okay, so that was for chats and calls. So chat discussion. In a chat, you can share a document. It was in the attachment, like we said, for the messages. You can have also share your screen when you want to discuss with someone over the video or the phone. And between phone calls and video calls, well, in normal times, wonderful video calls. In periods of Corona, like we know, well, I would advise to do phone calls. Okay, again, questions about this topic number 3, please put it in a Q&A. We will get some time at the end of this session to answer a lot of these questions. But my colleague Philip is also, as a moderator, helping you to answer your different questions. So topic number 4, well, here is how we organize meetings. And in meetings, you can plan meetings. You can plan meetings in advance, and planning meeting in advance, well, we will do with Outlook. Here you have in your Outlook, be it now Outlook Online or the Outlook desk app, well, you have a possibility when you create a meeting to convert that immediately in a Teams meeting. What do you have underline? Underline, you see you have, and that is a reference to the participants, the Belgian participant who phoned me before the start. You see it's even written in Dutch here underneath. All you will see in my slides is a mixture of French, Dutch, and English. I'm used to switch from one language to the other. Another way to organize a meeting in Teams is to plan it in advance, and you can click on the calendar. You see here on the left-hand side, I have in this column also a calendar, and in this calendar I can create a new meeting. I put a title, I put all my attendees, and you see that a meeting that in Teams, there is not a difference between a meeting and an appointment. In Teams, well, we're supposed to make immediately, we have the possibility, to make the two through the same window, because if you do not put attendees, well, you have an appointment. If you put attendees, well, you have immediately a meeting. Okay, so details for the date, details about in which channel it happens. So that is also something quite interesting when you organize a meeting through Teams. You will be able to save your meeting in a specific channel. Okay, so that is the meeting where it will be saved and where you will find it afterwards. And then here underneath is the text, so you can put a message like you will do that in Teams. Okay, so that is also something you can do when you plan it in advance. Another way to do that is when you will be in your calendar, you will see that before clicking on the appointment, you will have also, and I didn't put a print screen about that, you will have a picture of an icon of a video camera with which is indicated and called Meet Now. Okay, I don't know for translations in Dutch and French what this means, but it is, you will see anyway with the Meet Now, you have immediately a possibility to start your meeting. You don't have to plan it. You can also start meeting right now. So that for meetings, how does now the meeting look like when you are in the midst of the meeting and you're looking at it? Well, it looks like this. Okay, first you have a lot of people, and that is what we have here on the right. Okay, so you see all the participants and you see people enjoy to meet looking at faces. Okay, if you don't put your video camera on, well, you have something like that here, like the CD, well, you just have the initials of the participants. That is also something I would advise you for online meeting, is do not switch on your video or your camera as soon as you're more than 5 or 6 participants. Okay, as long as you're 4 to 5 participants, no problem. It's nice to see how everyone reacts. And if you're a trainer, it's always useful to see the reaction of the people if they have understood what you've said and so on. We used to do face reading and see the reaction of your participant or your colleagues in the meeting. Okay, you see, so this is on the top right, an overview of how it looks, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 windows here, out of which you have 4 participants, and you have underneath here also some shared a whiteboard, a PowerPoint presentation, and so on. What can you do during the meeting? Well, that is what this Windows shows you here on the top. You can activate or deactivate your camera. You can put on off the microphone. That is also something quite useful for the organizer of the meeting, the one who invited you. Well, he can mute all participants. If you want to raise, if you have to raise a question or you want to participate, well, then you can click on the phone. The different participants of the meeting can also share their screen, can share a PowerPoint presentation and so on. And that is the icon here in the middle, just alongside your microphone. And we can therefore look at everyone's screen. You can also switch easily. For example, someone else wants to show how his accounting application has a problem, or a dashboard that you want to show from a financial point of view. Well, everything is possible to switch from one window to the other. On the right-hand side, we have a list of all participants. Okay, that is, for example, a difference with this Teams event. In an event, we have more the webinar type of event when there is one speaking and a lot participating. There is more interactivity in a Teams meeting. On the right-hand side, you can have also, like you have here, a Q&A. You have also possibility to have a chat. When will we use the chat? Well, I told you the first trouble is that everyone has no mic. You can't speak. So best intervention is with the chat. Second one is also for the organizer quite useful to have an idea, well, what is discussed about. Okay. Previously in old-fashioned meetings, well, we had people who were chatting on their phone. Well, you can't avoid that here neither, but you can also look at what activity is happening in the chat. And you will see that quite frequently people are used to work with chats. They will raise questions, but they will also answer questions of the others. Okay, so there is a second life starting in this chat environment. Okay, so important when you are the organizer of a meeting, look at what stands behind you. Look at how your camera is focused on the place and so on, and you will see, for the ones who watch Belgian television, I've seen latest last week a lot of ministers in Belgium who used to work with these Teams tool, and they even blurred their environment. So you have more or less a guess where they are, but you don't see it with details. Others just put it like a scenery. They have a nice background on which they're sitting, so you get the impression they are quite nicely installed. Okay, so important when you participate to meetings that you can look at how we see you, how you're seen by the others, and things like that. Okay, so that was for the participation. Again, if questions about how to meet, details like that, the main objective of this 1.5 hour session is just to give you an introduction to show you how and what you can do with Teams. Probably you will use only a part of this, but my aim is to introduce you to a lot of possibility of what Teams offer. I had recently a colleague whose children are coming from the university, and they're all also using in the University of Brussels, they're using Teams. And at the university, they said, well, we suppose that all students know how to meet, how to work with Teams. Well, and I said, well, we suppose that all professors and trainers also know how to work with Teams. So no indication, nothing of the rules. Well, it made up a complete mess because everyone was making his own channel, was sending messages on different places, and the poor professor also had to invest a lot of time in order to find back to search tools and things like that. So working with an online tool, and certainly when we speak about meetings, chats and messages, requires also some organization and some advices. Okay, so that for the collaboration. Let me just check a little bit on the side of the questions, if they're running fine. Yeah, okay, so I don't see anything. Okay, let's check to the yeps, yeah, everything. Yeah, okay, so there we are for topic number 5. We are on the collaboration side, and in collaboration, well, one of the important things will be that, as I showed you here, you can discuss and participate and chat during a meeting. Okay, and I told you already when we had that in the meeting part, and also you can also share files in a post as soon as you have it inside the topic. Collaboration will be the main topic in a minute when we will speak about file sharing and so on. Working with it is quite easy. Let's now look also a little bit to the mobile version. As I told you, you can also do Teams on the mobile and download the app, either on the App Store from Apple, or you can do that for the Android phones also on the Google Store quite easily. What is the difference with the Teams application on your laptop? Well, is that everything is on the bottom, so you find back activity, conversations, Teams, calendar, phones, and so on. And you have a long list of everything you have phoned with. You see, so I have here an overview of all my phone calls. Here I have an overview of all my conversations. And if you want to participate to a conversation, well, here I'm chatting and have the possibility of a chat of exchanges on this tool. Okay, so also on the mobile, we have different things. Second topics is how we share files in Microsoft Teams, but I've seen we still have, yes, we're quite nice with the timing. I will show you a bit some live applications of Teams. So hold on, and I'll share you my Teams application. Yeps, here we are, and there we are with Teams. Okay, so here is the Teams environment. We have, as I told you, the possibility to distinguish between a team, and my team is called Virtual Training, and I have a first channel that is General. I also mentioned you the members, so I can click here on the more options, and when I manage the team, well, I see who are the owners. So we are 2 owners, and we have here 3 guests, a classroom, a trainer, virtual, and so on. Okay, so that is for my members. And as you can see, well, there are some who are owners, others are members, and we can also have guests. I've shown you that on my slides. So in a channel, you have the different posts. Okay, so you have the story. Remember, you could click on the A here and you can start with a new subject. Okay, so I'm here giving you a summary of part. Okay, so, and I will set, well, we discussed topics. Well, first it was chats, then we had a word about calls, and then we had about meetings. Yeah, and if I want to attach, like I had here a file, well, I can click here at the end. Yeah, I will stop my bullet list. I will put an attachment. I can look where it is. So you see, you can browse from your Teams and from the channel. You can upload it from your computer. You can even pick it up from OneDrive. So quite easy to pick up files. I will browse my Teams and channels. Here is in my general channel the document. Okay, and you will see that I can share. I can here. Oops, sorry. I can share here the document. Click on it again. Yeah, here, and when I've selected it, I click on share. Okay, so here is the document that was in my file. When finished, well, I sent the message, and you see we have here a list. Interesting is that you can collapse a little bit your message. Look, I can click on see less, and here I have also a long list. When it starts to be a bit too long, well, you will have the possibility to see more and to see less. On this one, well, you can also have a reply. Okay, so you can give it a thanks and even add some smileys. You see, we have also possibilities to make it a little bit more human, and there is for my conversations. Okay, so that was for conversations in general. If I want to start a chat, it was here on the top. Okay, so I have here a chat with Annabelle or with Philip. I would just ask Philip, oh, he's out of the office. Do you see? Once also an interesting thing. If you want to send a message to Philip, well, him being out of the office, you will probably not have immediately a response. If I try to send to Annabelle, well, you see there is a red bullet here that Annabelle is in a meeting, so she probably be able to respond, and I will send to Annabelle a new copy of the slides is in the general tab. Okay. So that is for my discussion. And so you see on the left, I have everything that Annabelle told me, and on the right, well, we have everything that is indicated here. You see a small sign that my message has been sent. So that was for chats. If I want to create a new chat, I have it here on the top. Oh, you see how quickly Annabelle even. So I fear that Annabelle is not really in a meeting, or that she's just looking to my messages more than listening to the ones who are in the meeting. Okay, so that is for, you see how quickly we have a reaction, and that is what I told you. In a chat, you normally have quite quickly a response. Do I want to start a new chat for example, with someone else, I would put here Philippe, and you see, once again, I start the first letters, and he already suggests me the message here. You will see that I will put a message to Philippe. As soon as I start a chat, you see I had already a chat with Philippe. Here previously, it comes back to this chat. If you want to make a chat with someone outside the company, okay, so I will have here, I will put myself in, and you see, he said, well, we couldn't find any matches because it's not someone of the company, and he will immediately search externally for this indication. Okay, so that was for my trial on the side of the chats. If I want to make a call, I can start with Annabelle, with which I started the chat, and I can here click on the audio call or on the video call. If I want to add someone else to our chat, well, we can chat with more than two and add here the persons on the right. If I want to make a phone call, look, I have here the calls, and I can in the speed dial, at a speed dial, put someone, and I have, you see already a lot of contacts in my company on which I can immediately call the contact. Okay, so here, the more contacts you add, well, the easier it will be for you to click just on the phone. That was, and then as I told you also, we have an overview of the activity. Here, there was not that much in the feed. I can look to my activity, and here I find back everything that I've done during the session. We also spoke about meetings, and look here at the calendar. I have in my calendar this meeting for today. Okay, so I suppose it's, yeah, so it's exactly for 1 hour and a half. So I think that my friend Philippe put it only from an hour. Oh no, it stops at 11. Yeah, correctly. So that is for this meeting. And you see here in the meeting, you can see that it is the topic and you can participate, collaborate with. You click on the link and there you are to participate to the meeting. What I didn't put something in the slideshow was that I can meet now. You see, I can click on the meet now and start immediately a private meeting. Okay, so back to my presentation. And once again, if you have questions, well, please raise them to the Q&A on the right-hand side. Just let me check if with Philippe, if we still hear me well and if you can follow well.
Yes, we hear you, Heber.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Philippe. So second part here, back to the presentation. We will look at the second part of the slideshow here. And topic number 2 will have a way of collaboration. And so we will collaborate with teams on files. We have the possibility to make new files, how we upload them, how we download files, and you will see that we have possibility also to work them offline. What is the overview of all my files, how we collaborate and work together, either in Word and Excel Online or in Teams itself. Also, we will look at other locations, so what it is in the Outlook groups, how you see that also in SharePoint. You will see there is something common between SharePoint and Teams. And then once again, my favorite topic about the mobile, you can also work on files when you have a tablet. You can also do that on a smartphone, but I would advise to have a little bit more space or put your smartphone horizontally to consult and work on documents. And that will be the topics, the details of topic number 2. So the first thing is when we speak about files, I think it will pop up by most of you the image of a hard disk, or by others it will pop up the idea of the OneDrive. Some others who will think about the files will think about SharePoint. Well, when do we use Teams? As you have seen, I can also upload documents from OneDrive into Teams, and I can also share with SharePoint. Okay, so it's a bit a mess. And you say, well, when you are in front of a mess, you try to organize yourself better. Well, this is what I'll try to do with you. OneDrive is for personal files. Okay, so for the ones of you who still knew the good old times when there was no cloud, well, we had a C drive. On that C drive, you had a local drive, no backup. A disaster when your laptop was stolen or was crashing and so on. But here with OneDrive, you store and you save all your documents on a safe place because there is a backup possibility and in the cloud. Do not forget, we are in the cloud, therefore this symbol of the cloud for OneDrive in most of the cases. And I remember having worked for a Luxembourgish bank. The law in Luxembourg does not allow us to put files on a server that is outside Luxembourg for confidentiality reasons. Okay, some companies do that also. So in the contracts, when the Office 365 contract is signed with between the companies and Microsoft, well, there is a possibility to define where it is somewhere, where the server are stored. So there are most of the time for us Europeans in Europe. Second one, Teams. We will work on Teams with files as soon as we have those files for our project, for our department, for all the ones who work together. Okay, so it's not a copy of the OneDrive, it's neither a copy of the SharePoint, it's only the files you need to work on your project or you work together in the team. A team, as I've showed you in topic number 1, is also a team that is well identified. You know the people who are in the team, so it's a little bit more confidential. Yesterday, someone asked me, is there a way to put a document in Teams that is read-only? And I had a big problem of answering this question. I still don't have a definitive answer on that question, but I told her, well, look, the principle in Teams is that we put documents on which we work together on. And you have therefore also in those online documents possibility to change the versions of the documents. We will see that also in an example. If something happened, if people destroyed your document, if they've put modifications that you don't want to have integrated and so on. Okay, so Teams is for documents we work on, and we work with the team, we know people. And then finally, we have the last one, that is with SharePoint, and that is then enterprise-wide. This is documents depending once upon how your IT department has defined your SharePoint. Well, in SharePoint, it is for the whole company, or also maybe by department that your SharePoint is organized. I'm speaking here about SharePoint Online, where you have also your documents, and you will see how easily we'll be able to switch from Teams to SharePoint. This is what we speak about in files. Remember my overview of the different topics. So we'll look at how we make new files, how we upload files, and you will see, I've shown you that already in that conversation, in that new conversation, how I can upload either from Teams, from my laptop, or from OneDrive. The second one is the download. then we'll have an idea to see how we can have an overview of all the files in the different teams in which you participate and you're member or owner of, and finally how we collaborate and what we can do all with files. Okay, so making a new file, uploading a file is not that difficult. Look, it is here. Oh yes, I've made a mistake between the title and my slide. So do not read upload on the top left, to read new. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is here click on new, and you will see when you click on new, you will be able to make a new Word document. You can do a new PowerPoint slide. You can start with a new Excel sheet. You can create your own OneNote, but always for the team. So if you create a new Word document, it is automatically available for the whole team, but only the team you're in. Okay, so if I create a new team in Mon Team EVS, well, it's for that team that I created. If I go to my team Kronos Teams Test Team, well, it's only for that team that my document is available, and also specifically to in the channel that I've defined. So you see here on the on my screen, you see that I am in Mon Team EVS with general as a channel. If I create there a new team, a new file, well, it's only for that channel that I find the files. And therefore, that is the reason where that overview of files is quite useful, because we do not put it that much as we normally do in folders, but it can be useful to have an overview of the files you have in the different channels of the different teams in our team application. Second one is, and then the title of my slide is nice, is upload. So we have a second possibility with the upload. And finally, we have the download, where you can download a copy to your laptop or to the place where you are. Okay, so once again, also big advantage of working with Teams in the cloud. So this time I'm forgetting about the Teams application, but you will see that Teams through a browser works the same way than here with the Teams app. Well, you can, when you are on another place, so back to the non-corona times, you're sitting in a hotel, you're in a meeting with friends, you are on a place where you don't have your own laptop or your own tools, well, you can also access your Teams quite easily. Okay, so that was for the overload. What I told you here, an example of new files. You see, you can create a new folder. Okay, so for the ones who are fans of folders, well, you can create as many folders as you want. The only thing I would advise you is do not put too much depth in your file. It makes the search operation in SharePoint a little bit more difficult, but that's just an in between brackets comments. So you can make Word documents, Excel workbook, PowerPoint presentations, OneNote notebook, and forms for Excel. Okay, so that is for what we can create as new files. Okay, so here we have, okay, so that is what we can create new ones in. Then we have a files overview. In my files overview, I can have, how did I find them? Well, I found them here, clicking on files, and you see, I can see all the files, all the recent one I used, the ones I can find on Teams, the files I've downloaded, but also my other cloud storages. You can also have a switch to OneDrive. Okay, so that was the reason of my presentation at the beginning, to make a distinction between OneDrive, Teams, and SharePoint. Well, you can also switch between OneDrive and Teams. Okay, so doesn't mean that the others can look at to your OneDrive. It's each one still having its own OneDrive. You can look at your files. Okay, so that is the place where you will click on for the files overview. When we want to collaborate on a file, well, we have here that overview of the list. And in order to look at this, well, I have the possibility to edit in Teams. Okay, so you stay in your Teams environment, and you'll have the possibility to work on it. You can also open it in a browser, for sure, only for Office documents. Okay, so in a Word document, in an Excel file, in a PowerPoint presentation, and so on. You can also download it and you can get a link. Why is it that important to get a link? Well, it is when you will put a reference to your document in another team or in another channel, where you will publish the link so that people can go to the place where the file is stored, and not put like we would do like attachments in Outlook, put it as an attachment here, always the same document in the same place, the same file, I mean, on the same place, in order to have a good organization of your documents. You can also open it in the desktop app, and don't worry, even if you open it in a desktop app, he will keep the link and know that the document is stored in Teams in the cloud. So you're updating the document. Just be careful in this case, you will have an autosave and it will update immediately your document. So that's for the way we'll collaborate. Let's look now at the place where we have here the files in other locations, and we have that in first the Outlook groups. Okay, this is maybe a strange place where we do not think always about when we create a team. You will see that when you create a team, it's also an Outlook group. You will see how we work with, and we can easily switch to SharePoint. And finally, third topic, we speak about mobile. Just in order to remember you, questions you have, please raise them to my colleague Philip, who is managing the Q&A. For the questions we will not be able to answer, don't worry, we have an email address, training@devoteam.lu, where these questions will be sent to, and you'll get an answer anyway. Okay, so that for the questions and the QA, they're all welcome. First, let us look to how we manage files in Outlook groups. Well, where do you find groups? Well, if you click in your Outlook, I mean Outlook online, and also probably in your Outlook app, well, you have under the different folders, you have also a group. Okay, so I have here a group called Planning Transformation, and in this, a team called Kronos Teams Test Team. Well, here I have an icon in the middle where I have the possibility to manage my files, and it looks like this. Well, you have an overview with the names, when they were modified, and so on. You will see it looks wonderfully like a OneDrive file system. It looks wonderfully like a SharePoint file, so you won't be lost that much. It's always the same way that my files and my folders are presented. So that was for groups. Let's look how it looks like in SharePoint. In SharePoint, you have also this as a possibility. You can open your files in SharePoint, and it opens then for you in Mon Team EVS. also an overview. You see once again the same overview with my different folders, my modified, the documents part, and once again, if you look well under my team EVS, it's called that it is a public group. Okay, so maybe a topic I haven't mentioned in my introduction. When you make teams and you create a new team, you can select to have it public, meaning for all the people who want to subscribe, they can be a member of the team. So most of the time inside your company. And you can have also a private team there where the owner invites all the members. Okay, so that for what it is in SharePoint. And once again, we have all the SharePoint possibilities, making a new document, uploading it, synchronizing, exporting it to Excel, and so on. Okay, so that is for SharePoint. And then last topic here about the collaboration is working on the mobile. So also on your mobile, and then you can see I've made a picture of my smartphone in a portrait way. Well, you can have an overview of your different teams. And here, once I've selected in the teams, I have selected my files. And here under the general, I have alongside the conversations, I have also the different files, and here my questions coming up with all the documents, an Excel file, a PowerPoint presentation, a OneNote, a PDF, and so on. Okay, so that for this topic about the collaboration and the working on files. Let here me put some, give you an overview and some examples of how it works in Teams. Yep, here I'll share you once again my Teams application. Yeah, and let's look a little bit at how we work with files in Teams. So where do we find the files? Well, we have specifically on the top, we have a files overview. Okay, so I click on files and there I find the PowerPoint presentation I downloaded yesterday at 5:51 from my laptop, or I got from a conversation. Okay, so look here in the different posts. We had a file here at the beginning that was uploaded. Okay, so here automatically, if you upload a file in a conversation, well, it comes automatically in the corresponding files tab here. What can I do with the document? Well, as I told you, I can create new files, a new folder, a new Word document. Let's make a new folder, and I will call this folder example. Okay, so here, creating of my folder example. I can also create new documents. Okay, so here a new Excel sheet. So that is for my budget of 2020. Okay, create a Word document. And you see, as soon as you create a new document, he opens you the document. You can work with it easily. You will see it is not a 100% the same as the Excel application, or the online Excel is not the 100% the same as the Word application. If you want to switch it, well, you can here click on the 3 dots and you can open it in Excel. You can open it in the browser and so on. But it is in order to have a quick presentation. I can here make an easily table with Brussels, Flanders, and Wallonia. We have a budget for 2019, a budget for 2020. So here I will put easy numbers in 10, 20, and 30. Okay, you will see that just like in Excel, I can easily select and copy the ones. A first difference is, for example, you see by the copy normally in Excel, you get a special tag that isn't available here. When I want to make a chart out of this, well, here I don't have the quick access, the quick analysis. I will insert here a chart. Okay, so we'll make a cluster chart, and you see you can do just the quick things. The same here in my chart. You see in a normal chart in Excel, you have some additional things, and they aren't available here. Okay, so quick use. Everything that is done here is saved for you, so there is no need to save. It's immediately synchronized. As soon as I click on close, I go back to my budget, and you see here I got an information about, well, who has worked on that document. Another possibility is the upload. Okay, and you see it selects an upload immediately from my laptop. Okay, here in the upload. In the synchronization, I can synchronize my files with my laptop. So once again, the same like with OneDrive. I can download one of the documents and the files I'm working on. Let's a little bit look more and more details. I can also in my budget here have an additional file. We've seen the most of one. I can delete it. I can also pin it to the top. Okay, so that is quite nice for the files you work frequently with. But even more interesting, I can from this document and this file, when we work on this, we'll put it also as a tab. Okay, I will do that here for my presentation. I click on this one, and I will, for this one, put it in, make as a tab. Okay, look on the top left here. I have now a tab. If I click on the tab, I am immediately in the presentation, and I can change the update. You see, these are the slides we're going through, and I can make immediately a modification. So it is there available. You don't have to open PowerPoint. It's immediately available for you. Okay, so that's also quite nice in the files, what I can do with them. And then finally here also you can move them. So if you ask for a move, you have an overview of your different teams. Okay, so here the folders and the subfolders I've used, you can move it to your OneDrive. Okay, and so here in my documents from OneDrive, I can put it also. Okay, so that's here for my move, moving it easily. Okay, so here that was for the move. Then you have also a possibility for this one to open in SharePoint. Okay, so it will open your SharePoint application and allow you to put it then with all the tools that SharePoint give you, checking in, checking out, having an overview of how you look at your files and so on. In the More tab, we have the checkout possibility. Okay, and so you see here we sometimes have some elements common between SharePoint and Teams. What is also quite nice is you have here on the 3.1 at the bottom I showed you for the open in SharePoint. And for the ones who are working with SharePoint, you know, you can most of the time manage a little bit the way you organize the information. You see, I have a column only modified and modified by in order to order my things, to filter them out and so on. But you can also change the view. Okay, so a first change in the view is looking at your files with tiles. Okay, gives you already an overview. For the ones who, like me, are visual with have a visual memory, well, this is quite useful. Only if you have 250 files, well, then it's not useful anymore. And then I can also save my view. Okay, so you can edit your view. You will once again switch to SharePoint, adapt the view, and you can, for example, add the date, the size of your files, the period when it was modified, in which version of the document you are, and so on. Okay, so a lot of information from SharePoint you can upload here into Teams. Okay, so back to an overview of my list. And then a bit in order to close this topic with the disaster, what do you do when you have a problem? Well, if I want to go back to previous version of my document, of my Excel file here, well, I will click on the three dots and I can look to the versions. No version here. Okay, well, anyway, I will. Then I'm mixing up with another presentation I had. So normally you can also look at the versions when it's opened. I think you can do that in a presentation here. Let's check if I can do it here somewhere. But normally you have that possibility. Oh yeah, but it's also quite interesting. Now I look at the file. When you are working on a file, and you are not sitting together in the office, or you're in a meeting room with people outside the meeting room, well, it can be interesting to have a discussion about the file. Well, we have here those two things. First, you can make some comments. Okay, so I can make a new comment and say, well, what about okay, so that is a comment that I will make, and you have also possibility to here, oh no, yeps, and therefore leave it for your colleagues. And you see you have here a small comment when we are working on this. If you want to work on this document and collaborate, well, open a meeting and you can put this document in the meeting in order to work on this, and then you will have the conversation part too. Last topic is the overview of all the files. Okay, I want to see what is in the different teams and channels. Well, here on the left, I click on files and look here, I have the different ones, one from Annabelle here, one from the budget, one from the teams. Why do I get it from Annabelle's OneDrive? Well, because she shared it with me 1 hour ago, and I get here the file from Annabelle's OneDrive. Okay, so overview of the recent one, overview only of Microsoft Teams. And you see, so this time I don't have anymore the Annabelle's one. Let me see if, no, okay. And here you have here, when you look at your files, also the possibility to edit in the Teams, to download, to get the link. Here is the place you can do so. Okay, so that for the slide demo, I wanted to show you here, and let's go back to the presentation. Here we are, and there is the slideshow again. Okay, so here that was the conclusion with the mobile, and brings us to the question time. So we have still some 15 minutes before ending the one. Either you put the question in the Q&A, and Philippe will be able to repeat me. I will also look at some Q&As from my screen. What I wanted to already stress is that we were quite happy to have such a strong response, and we thank you for your presence here. You will have also the possibility to find more information about online trainings, and you will see if there are even trainers in the listening to me. You will see it's not difficult at all to give a training online. If you're an IT person, you will see it's also quite easy to get in contact with your colleagues sitting at home, and you know, and I know you're going through a hard time now in order to put everything right for people working from home and so on. So please do not hesitate. You have a phone number of our training center there. You have the website for the for more details, or if you want still have questions after this presentation, well, we'll have it here, this email address. Let me just check if I can open the Q&As, and I will go as much as possible through them. Yeah, okay. Are there maybe, Philip, some questions that you think we can discuss here over?
So if you go to the Q&A in new, there is an interesting question. You maybe be answer. I don't know if you see it in the new, the first one on the top.
Yeah, I see in the new. Yeah, thanks for your presentation. A small question. I have my own ideas, but from your own experience, what are the practical advantages of Teams? If still today we use SharePoint as a collaborative platform and Skype in place for chats, meeting and conference. So, yeah, very interesting questions from a strategical point of view. Well, first with Skype, it's useful to start with Skype and to get used to make exchanges and meeting and things like that. What happens is that Microsoft will quite quickly switch from Skype to Teams, and in some, don't know, coming months, coming years, well, you won't have that much possibility to switch between Skype and Teams. You will be nearly forced to use Teams. Okay, that is from a technical point of view. If you used to work with SharePoint and you used to work with Skype, well, Teams is useful, and you will see there are some slight differences, but the people will not make the bridge between the two. You've seen that how I can go easily from Teams to SharePoint, from Teams to Outlook, and still in my environment. Skype is not integrated the same in my Office 365 environment. So if you feel quite happy with SharePoint and Skype, well, just stay with that. If you want and you haven't organized yet and you're starting only with chats, meeting and conferences, well, I would advise you to do that with Teams, because you've seen in the first part I've presented, well, the chat calls and meetings are the same as in Skype, but the part of files is the same as in SharePoint. So with Teams, I have one single place in order to do it. Also, another difference between Teams and SharePoint is that in a SharePoint environment, it is the IT department who sets it up. And if you need to add a member, changed your participants in your SharePoint, well, it's a bit harder to do. The second one is the fact that in a SharePoint, a little bit like in Teams, well, all documents are standardly shared with anyone. In a Teams, you have the possibility to limit it to the team members. Okay, so that's for the first question. Thanks you, Philip, to have stored it there. Then, where are all the data hosted? Yeah, so the data are hosted on the place that you define. So when you subscribe a contract with Microsoft for your Office 365 subscription, well, there it's hosted. So if you're from the IT department, you probably will know it. Otherwise, you'll ask them where it is. So from a GDPR point of view, it's useful. So question from Sven, can we force someone to use Teams instead of using Skype, even the user get an invitation for a Skype meeting? Oh, that's a nice question. How we force someone to use Teams? Well, I wouldn't say you can. So normally if, and I do not know precisely why you would force someone to use Teams. I would say from an IT point of view, well, you can reduce the rights to Skype and imply and enforce Teams, but I don't think so. But I don't have a fixed answer. Sorry, Sven, I couldn't give you a precise answer. Then I have from Raoul, as organizer of video conference, can you exclude someone during the conference? You can, in the list, you as an organizer, you can mute someone, but you cannot exclude someone from the conference. Okay, so that was the question. In the strongest advantage of MS Teams, like Slack. I would say, if you look to Teams, and I compare that to other collaboration tools like Slack, like SharePoint, like Zoom, like Skype, and so on. The first big advantage is that as a company, you have a subscription of the Office 365 and Teams is for free. Okay, so that's also an advantage. A second one is that, and then the other advantages are not so strong. For example, if you use Zoom to do your collaboration, well, you can also share documents, you can share a file, you can do collaborations and so on. The other big advantage I see in the second one for Teams is that files, collaboration, and communication is done on a single place. Okay, so you don't have to do like the previous question about SharePoint and so on. Well, I go to SharePoint. Yes, geez, where is my SharePoint app? Or where is that SharePoint tab? And in which SharePoint is it? Now here with Teams, you have an overview of all the teams and so on. So that are the main and the strongest element. Thank you. So a small question. I have my own ideas, but from your own experience, what are the practical advantages of Teams? Is still of today we use SharePoint? Oh yeah, so that was a question I already answered at 11:15. So at 11:20, the integration of several tools all in one is probably, yeah, the most advantage. Is a user-friendly design, exactly. Also an advantage of working with Teams, and it is a topic that I didn't handle here. You can also in Teams integrate a lot of other applications. Remember on the top left of my channel, I've shown you the conversations, posts, I've shown you the files, but you have a plus sign allowing you to put also a lot of other applications. I can use Trello planning tool. I can use Planner as a Trello tool. I can add a OneNote. I can add also a lot of other applications. I even seen that once a company where they were using their Bob for the accounting tool. I've seen Salesforce that doing, and a lot of ERP systems also allow the integration with Teams. Okay, so that for the questions. Let's look to, do I need Exchange in the cloud or AD in Azure to see the people of my company in Teams? Not the faintest idea. Sorry, Miguel. Maybe that my colleagues of Azure and Exchange can be able. So we'll try to send you an answer through the email. So we get here another question. Yep. Où active-t-on l'option pour pouvoir inviter des externes dans la console d'administration? So it is also specifically there in the installation. Is not that complicated. So you will see in the settings of the Teams administration, you just look at the mere beginning. It's a nice place where you can open your Teams to external companies, and I will do that. I would advise you to do that, because as soon as you will implement Teams, you will see that it will be easy for your colleagues and for the company to work with an external company. I don't have a screenshot of where you can do that, but it's easy to find in the Teams administration tool, and you need to have the administration. Okay. Can we force someone to use Teams? That was done. Yeah, as the organizer. Yep, will be muted for everyone, not just you. No. The file stored in a specific place in a local server. Well, I think that is once again something you define in the settings of the Teams administrator. There is a special administrator tool where you'll be able to do. And I think yes, you could select that. Interfacing with Cisco Spark Room conference. That's a nice question. Never thought about that. So I suppose you're in a meeting room, you have the Cisco Spark Room conference and switch it to the others. I suppose so, but sorry, I don't have a precise answer on that. During a video call, can I downgrade the video quality to save bandwidth? Also a useful question. So if you do just a video call on yourself, I think you can select the bandwidth or the quality of the thing, but I never tried that. Maybe I'm mixing it up with the YouTube videos. Well, maybe check and look a little bit. I think you can, but I'm not sure for the video call. Okay, so that for the timing. So it's nearly 11:30. If you have, oh yes, let's take a last one then. Could the file be stored? Oh yeah, I got that. Oh yes, that is also a useful question. I had that also. More than 5 pictures at the same, like Zoom and so on. You will see that when you have a conference call or a video call, well, you will be able at the beginning to put 4 big windows for the participants, and all the others are in small windows. Big advantage with other tools, and it's true that in Zoom, for example, everyone has the same size of the windows. Well, it brings me maybe to another topic related to Office 365 with Teams. Teams is a tool in evolution. And every time, and I had a Teams meeting in Luxembourg City some months ago, well, people said, well, oh, on my Android phone, I can see all 5 windows. Oh, I say, how do you do that? And then I opened my iPhone, I could see only the 4 main, and the 2 others were in small ones. So you will see that depending upon the technology, about the tool you're using, well, they have more possibility and evolution, but I don't know when precisely there will be a release allowing to do that. Okay. So here, back to my presentation. So thank you again for your participation, and hope it was useful for you. Our training center and most of our experts are available to give you online trainings also. And for more details, well, here on the slide, 1 phone number, 1 web address, and 1 email. Okay, well, I say you goodbye and hope you enjoyed. Stay safe at home and enjoy working with Team. Goodbye.